It is Mike Weathers. I am here to talk to you guys today a little bit about Australopithecus garhi. I chose this particular hominid to discuss because I thought it was very interesting that it was kind of this transitive period between Australopithecus afarensis and the Homo genus that was later on going to be discussed kind of as the human origin. And so particularly interesting is kind of this weird transitive phase in there. It's called garhi, and that name means surprise, actually, in the local language in Ethiopia, in Bori. It's in the middle of Wash Basin, kind of a lake area, at least is how they're describing what they think would have been the environment in which this particular hominid would have lived. And so when you look at the features of the afarensis versus the garhi, you find some differences that are a stark contrast, mostly in the fact that the garhi actually had longer legs and shorter arms by comparison to something like the afarensis, which is a little closer to an ape-like shape. The garhi actually has got a shape closer to something like a human might have. So these animals existed about 2.5 million years ago, or at least that's the estimation. To be honest, the fossil record for this is relatively limited. We know very little about them. There's only one cranium, some skull fragments, and then one partial skeleton that actually there has been some question about whether or not it would fit. It was in the same geologic stratum, but it's not definite that it could be the same thing. They're estimating it is. Almost all science is going to point that it is, but still, most things would be reticent to give some kind of a definitive answer there. When you look at the size of the brain is actually about the same as the afarensis. The size of the brain is about 450 cubic centimeters, significantly smaller than the current modern human and most of the homos that came after it. But like I said, they did still have the longer arms and shorter legs, so they were less committed to arboreal habitats and more committed to this bipedal, terrestrial, ground-walking stature. And so that's where you get kind of this transitive phase. They also still had very large teeth with very thick enamel, indicated that they were still chewing grasses and the like that were going to be very low in nutrients, but still actually required a lot of processing. One of the more interesting things, again, that I thought of this whole thing was that they were suspected to be, was found in the same geologic stratum and area. They're suspected to have been the first ones to really use tools. Obviously going to be very primitive, these stone tools, but they found ways to sharpen rocks, so these things could be used to gather termites and other insects. They could be used to cut meat away from bones in some of the animals in which they hunted. Also could be used to process some other smaller foods in other ways, to get into the bone, to get more of the marrow that's inside the bone for more of those nutrients. Unlike those of us humans today, they didn't waste a whole lot. The garhi was discovered in 1990 by an Ethiopian paleontologist or paleoanthropologist by the name of Birain Asfaw and an American paleoanthropologist by the name of Tim White. The two of them were leading an expedition. They came across these things, and again, it was a surprise to find this kind of transitive thing, because prior to this time in 1990, the thought process was that the afarensis was probably the most likely direct ancestor to the Homo genus. This throws a little bit of a wrench into it, and it kind of gives some more options for the adaptive evolutionary timeline as the time goes on. I hope that you all find this as interesting as I do. Again, I wish there was more information that we could get here. I'll post up links to all the places that I got my information, including Tim White and Asfaw's original published data. But y'all have a wonderful afternoon. I will be watching your videos.